Hello?
Hey Thomas, how's it going?
Hey guys, how's it going?
I'm pretty okay. So yeah, you're a QA tester for Mass Effect 3, correct?
Yep.
I believe we had one of your fellow QA testers on here yesterday, Josh Poole. Did you have a similar experience getting hired at Bioware as him? Like, how did you end up getting this position?
Well, it's pretty straightforward for everybody. What they do is they'll sift through all the resumes they get, and they'll have a hiring fair. At which point, you go in, you'll take a written exam, and if you do well, you'll answer a couple questions from some of the leads there, and then you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and you wait, and hopefully you get called.
Okay, and like, what was your experience like as a QA tester? Like, did I'm assuming you had a lot of fun since you're going to be on here talking about it.
It's a great time. Every day is something different, and that's one of the things that I really love about the job. It's not run into a wall for 8 hours of the day every single day. Granted, there is a fair bit of that, uh, but it's not quite to the extent that everybody says it is.
Okay, and I believe you were telling me how you had a few things that you were running by legal to that you wanted to talk about. What were some of the topics you kind of wanted to discuss while you're on here?
I just wanted to make sure that certain things I said in regards to the studio wouldn't get me axed. So that's the biggest thing for me,
Okay.
as well as getting that post sticky on the forums for you guys.
All right. Awesome. Thanks. So, yeah. So, what in particular were you working on for Mass Effect 3? What were you effectively trying to break?
Initially, I was one of the playthrough guys, and it's kind of a double-sided sword. Pretty much my job was to run through the game, hitting different plot states, hitting different side missions, different side quests, and making sure everything works accordingly for the end goal. However, throughout the project, I was actually really lucky to be pulled for some more producer tasks in regards to making things like manual or helping out with reputation systems and how they work, or just things like that. But mainly, I was the guy that's pretty much doing what you guys are doing right now, playing through the game, having a good time, making sure everything works and that there's nothing out of place.
Okay, that sounds pretty awesome. So, now, do you get also to test the DLC once that's coming out and like play through all the potential bug fixes for day one patches and all that?
Yep, 100%. A lot of that has already gone on. Um, a lot of people don't really understand exactly the process or really the timeline of when we test these things. For anything that's, like, for example, for DLC, we've been testing DLC for over a month now. So
Okay.
when we see posts in the forums suggesting certain things, it sometimes I kind of chuckle to myself, and some of them are really good suggestions, and I wish we had would have had them a little bit earlier, but they're not as doable.
All right, makes sense. So, brain fart. 1 second. Do you guys have any questions you'd like to ask him? Okay, so here's the question. The PS3, for the demo at least, there were some frame rate issues. Is there anything you can say about whether or not there's going to be something to kind of fix that when the game releases, or is
From my personal experience, both playing PS3 and Xbox over the last couple months, and every day playing both, um, the frame rate on both is very very much the same in the final build, and that was one of the things that we definitely wanted to hammer on and make sure that it plays smoothly.
okay? So the demo is definitely not just a chunk of the final build; it's kind of a beta still, sort of.
In a sense, yes. I personally, honestly, I haven't played the beta outside of playing a couple multiplayer matches. But you know, from playing PS3 and Xbox recently, I can tell you that the frame rate, I really don't see an issue with it.
Okay, cool. So, have you been a fan of the Mass Effect series before you got hired onto this project, or did you like just kind of leap into this?
I definitely just leapt into it. Mass Effect you know, I'm sure I'm gonna get ragged on in a minute here, but it's never really been my game. It's never been my type of game. I never played the first one, and the second one I played for a couple hours, and I couldn't really stand how the gameplay kind of worked. The gameplay systems worked.
So how did that kind of affect how you processed your bug nodes? Like, was that did you comment like, man, I really like hate this type of thing that just happened right here? This isn't a bug, but this is like frustrating for me, or did you just kind of have to work with that?
There's a lot of that actually. There's a lot of subjective bugs that we write and suggestions that we write to developers on how gameplay is, how the game flow is, and what kind of uh, player it would affect. So, for someone like me that really enjoy combat, having, bulky combat and, you know, definitely the cover system was as refined in Mass Effect 2, that kind of bothered me.
Okay, like in Bioware, what's kind of the relationship between the designer and the tester? I know, there's like joke kind of going around that it's never a bug, it's just a feature sort of thing. Like, did you ever kind of encounter that sort of line, or was there like a bit more of a friendly working relationship involved?
It's give and take on both sides. It kind of depends on who you talk to sometimes and how their day is going, and if they've already got 100 different things that they've had tasked to them. With developers, they're always, eager for suggestions and eager for people to try out their level. But you have to take it subjectively in the way you approach it. You have to be careful with your words because this is, you're pretty much telling someone that they did their job incorrectly, right? If they build a level and you can break it, or if you can beat it in 20 seconds, then, that's good. And no one likes to hear that. So it's give and take. And it really depends on what pool of developers you deal with. I mostly dealt with our level designers and our programming team, both awesome groups, and I really enjoyed talking to all of them.
Okay, so you've kind of seen this game from its beginning. From its earliest, most basic form. Like, what point did it kind of click to you while you were testing it that like this is now a game? Like, this is now something that people will actually want to play as opposed to like a rough design of what it could be.
Well, I was hired on the same time as Josh, so late August, early September, and at that point, the game was in what we call a white box. And pretty much what that means is that there's the level's laid out. There's not all the art. You can get through the level, but you're obviously going to encounter a couple issues. I would definitely say the point where it clicked was late November when our developers started crunching, and so that pretty much means that they're almost 24/7 working. And at that point, you could see huge improvements in what we were looking at as a game. And at that point, it was like, wow, this is amazing. This looks so good, especially with our Cine design guys, our Cineatom guys. It was just huge. It's awesome. You guys will love it. Trust me.
All right, now what was kind of like your favorite bug that you discovered, like something that you just found hilarious while play testing?
Oh, hilarious bugs. One of them was with our female shepherd. You would first load into her as a default configuration. She would be missing her chin and her jaw, so she would look like a zombie, and it was pretty amusing.
Nice. Do you guys have any questions for him?
He's a QA tester?
Yes.
Alright, has he tested any other games?
In a studio, no. I did do some private test realm for World of Warcraft when Blizzard still did that way back in the day, but that's really my extent testing.
Okay, so about how do you kind of plan to do you kind of plan to stay in the games industry after Mass Effect 3, and like where do you kind of see yourself trying to get to through this? Or is this like, you kind of want to move on from here sort of thing?
It's interesting because what I'm doing right now, I really do enjoy it, and one thing that I find BioWare does really well with is they give the opportunity to us QA testers to kind of spearhead different sorts of testing and really work with other QA and help manage other QA, for different tasks. if I couldn't tell you if I'm going to stay in the game industry or not. I'm not 100% sure on what I want to do. I'm really enjoying my time here right now, so I'll definitely try and stay here as long as I can.
Okay, awesome. So, is this kind of something that a lot of QA testers do? Are they generally willing to stick around? Because I mean, there's always that line that there's a high turnaround rate for your position.
Yeah,
Is,
a
is that
lot
like
of
they promote up, or is that like they kind of like get cut out, sort of thing?
well, with how many people want to be a QA tester? First of all, it's really hard to get the spot. And I'll tell you, a lot of the guys that and girls that I work with have exceptional educations. They've been to school for 4 to 6 years, multiple degrees. Um, there is a lot of different ways to move up. One of the guys that I've been working with a lot lately, Brendan Frank, he is looking to go to audio. Josh Port, I know he's looking to get into SIN design a little bit more. There's really a whole host of different things you can go to. QA is really a foot in the door. At that point, once you're a QA tester, if you can prove yourself, you can definitely go into the production side, the development side, really anywhere you want to
Okay, so now did you ever actually end up finishing Mass Effect or Mass Effect 2 just to get context of what you were testing, or are you still like you don't even want to deal with this?
go. It's funny. I did finish Mass Effect 2. The first Mass Effect I did not. I've never loaded it, to be honest, and I think that's no longer a well-kept secret at my workplace now.
Okay, yeah, I mean, yeah, we're definitely kind of wrapping up on our Mass Effect 1 right now. We're in our final levels. So, in Mass Effect 2, did you manage to save all of your teammates, or did you just kind of let everything crash and burn?
Let everything crash and burn. It was a little painful for me seeing the Mass Effect 2 systems compared to the Mass Effect 3 systems because there is such a huge improvement in everything that I would just want to get through it as fast as possible.
What do you think is actually the most exciting improvement between 2 and 3? Like, what should we as gamers be really excited for and looking forward to?
That's a good question. I think it's twofold. I think our combat system has been greatly improved, just in regards to pathing around level, how cover works, and how smart our enemies are at higher difficulties. And on the other side of that, I do think a lot of our side plots are just exceptional, phenomenal. I really enjoy them. This coming from somebody that isn't necessarily, a big side plot guy. If I had my way, I probably would have skipped through a lot of the chat and just spammed through a lot of the conversations, a lot of the dialogue. Fortunately, I can't do that. But reading that dialogue and hearing it, it's really emotional. There's an impact, and you really want to know more about it. So those side plots really get you in real quick.
Okay, so outside of Mass Effect, then you keep mentioning that there's a certain type of game you play. What games have been taking up a lot of your free time?
StarCraft 2. I'll tell you,
So,
StarCraft, definitely.
about what level are you at there? Do you play the custom games?
I do play a little bit of custom games. We have quite a few guys at work that will play, on our breaks or whatnot, so that's really enjoyable. We had a couple pretty big free-for-alls. Our rooms are pretty large. I believe we had 6 people in a free-for-all at one point. Everyone was yelling at each other not to attack them, and it's quite amusing.
That's pretty awesome. So, you know, obviously, you're working in an environment of gamers. Like, how does that kind of affect things? Like, is there just a specific infectious attitude about enthusiasm for creating something that you guys would enjoy, or is it like you're kind of looking at other games and trying to be them or not be them?
Well, we definitely look at other games, but it's not so much, hey, we want to be like this game. It's, we want to take away what they've done correctly and what they've done well and actually improve on that. So we want to take, a lot of their game systems and just blow it out of the water, change it up, and make it our own. That being said, in regards to the attitude, in our studio, specifically in our Edmonton studio, it's everyone I talk to is always really happy. I have absolutely no problem waking up at 6:30 in the morning to get ready for work because I know once I get to work, it's just so fun. It's enjoyable. I enjoy working with everyone there. It can get stressful at times, but as Josh mentioned, you take a 15-minute break, you go play some pool with the guys, and you're fine.
So, what systems did you specifically test on? And which one of those, in the end, did you end up preferring testing on?
I played on both Xbox and PS3. That being said, and PC. That being said, most of my experience was on Xbox, and I am just kind of a fan of the controller. I did play a lot of Call of Duty back the last couple of years, so having that, being familiar with the controller is huge. And I've never been a big fan of the PS3 controller. Sorry.
Understandable. So, essentially what you're saying is if there are any bugs in the Xbox 360 version, we should just kind of all call you and say that you didn't quite do your job right.
That's fine with me. The one thing about the game to know for sure, though, is our builds. So 99% of the bugs we would find are valid both on Xbox, PS3, and PC. The only things that you wouldn't find across all three are going to be things mostly to do with programming, just in regards to like save games and imports and things like that. A lot of that is pretty console specific, but 99% of what people see as bugs, so things in are going to be across all consoles.
Now, did you ever have to have the misfortune of playing a game in a language you didn't know?
Pardon?
Did you ever have to test the game in a different language? Because I
yeah.
some stories of people doing that.
See, I actually got lucky. The playthrough guys, we were headed by Bro Preet, Lalinav Preet at EAC, so he's in the EA Burnaby studio, and pretty much what he did was ask us if anyone can speak, additional languages. And luckily for us, everybody could speak a certain language so that we had all SKUs covered. So that was good.
Okay, what languages did you end up testing in?
I played in Polish and English. I did have to play through Italian once, which was interesting, to say the least, because I know zero Italian.
So what was it like playing through a game that you don't quite understand? And were you able to kind of guess what things meant just from memory from the other languages, or?
Yeah, definitely. To kind of put it in perspective, I've probably played through Mass Effect 3, I would say, to 100 times.
Wow. So, out of those 100 times, were there any characters in Mass Effect 3 that you kind of really connected to more than others?
Can't say.
No?
Can't say.
Okay, now... Man, does anyone else have any questions? I am just...
I got a question.
That's Izzy in the background.
Hi. Is there any particular QA tester who gets to test the love sequences?
Actually, that was one thing that we had to do was on the playthrough team, was the love sequences and the romances.
So that was that at all awkward to sit there and constantly being like, make love, damn it. Shepard, now with this person.
It was never awkward. Sometimes it was weird because some of the bugs you would see would just make it, totally odd. And totally, you would never think that would happen. So some of the bugs kind of did make it awkward, I guess, but a lot of the times it was quite amusing. And because the romances are a pretty big thing that our fans look for, we would usually have, I know in my room specifically in Bioware Edmonton, I would, some of the guys would look over and watch the screen, and we would kind of depict the romance sequence and make sure that I'm not missing any bugs. So I would always have a couple guys looking over my shoulders, making sure that, hey, this big part of the game is 100%.
Okay, nice. Now, a little bit off topic from Mass Effect 3. What is your favorite system of all time? Were you kind of raised on video games, or one of the newer generation kind of guys?
I'm a big fan of Super Nintendo. I was that was my first real system.
So you just gained at least one fan here. What NES game what was your favorite, or SNES game, I mean?
Uh, honestly, I was young. It was more mash the buttons and see what happens.
Okay, so
I,
pretty
I
much me at any modern fighting game then. I said pretty much me at any modern fighting game.
yeah,
That's my Marvel vs. Capcom strategy.
that's actually that's a big sport at BioWare Edmonton. We have a bunch of guys that are constantly playing that, and they're amazing. You know, I can't even believe it sometimes.
Nice. So, anyone else have anything to ask?
Oh, Goof
What do you
Troop,
think about
Goof Troop.
BioWare's decision to release downloadable content at the same time when they release the game instead of like including it with the game itself?
Pardon?
Like they're charging extra. So
He's asking about Day 1 DLC and what you feel about that.
Well, with Day One DLC, the game in itself is already so big and so vast that it really isn't a requirement for a lot of people. What we wanted to do was give those people that wanted that extra little bit, give them that option to purchase that Day One DLC. A lot of mixed feelings about Day One DLC, but I feel it all comes back to the scope of the game is so large in itself. There is a business side to it, and there also is, you know, we want to give that option for content. You know, we couldn't fit it in, unfortunately, to the main game, so that was the next best option for us to give the fans the content they wanted as soon as possible.
how much is like the DLC going to add onto like the game itself? Like is it just going to be like something simple or?
It's actually the DLC itself is pretty big. We will definitely be supporting Mass Effect 3 through DLC for a long time to come. So there will be more and more DLC, I'm sure, pop up over the next while. But the DLC, the Day One DLC, buy it. You'll like it. Trust me. You don't like it? Let me know. I'll give you your money back. I'll PayPal you.
I'm sure the sales team is over there giving you the thumbs up. Like, yeah, more, all the custom skins. So, yeah, kind of tagging onto that, like, you know, about how much time is spent on, like, general the new campaign DLC. Because, you know, I know that the game itself takes a very long time to design, but, like, about how long do they spend working on the missions, you know, per package?
Can't give you an actual number, but I can kind of I can sum it up in saying that a lot of our DLC, because the main game is done, a lot more we'll have, you know, a couple developers on that level, or we'll have developers assisting other developers on that level. So the levels themselves usually are actually a bit of an, you know, I hate saying improvement because it sounds like there's something wrong with our current levels, but the levels are great. I really like them. It's a different style of play, and it's a different level entirely than what you'll see throughout any level in Mass Effect. Just in regards to the environment, the skins, the colors, the art, everything.
Okay, now, is there anything you wanted to ask us about what's going on over here? Because
How are you holding up? I checked the stream when I got home at like 4 a.m. and you were still trucking.
dude, I had half hours sleep. Fortunately, I have tons of people over here helping me out, so I can kind of get a little bit of downtime over here. But dude, last night when everyone was gone, that was rough. Man, and yeah, so yeah, definitely, this has definitely been a learning experience for me about how to make a successful stream. I think there are a lot of things that I won't repeat next time. Namely, test everything a week or two before.
Yeah. I was definitely one of the first guys watching the stream with all the echoes and all the feedback. That was fun. It was good.
So, anyone in the stream or in the chat have any questions for him? I have my computer in front of me, so.
It doesn't look like anyone's asked your questions.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, wait. We got one. Sorry. James 176 asks, how long would the campaign be if you just went head on?
Um, if you just wanted to blitz through the campaign, technically you could do it in. Uh, I don't know how long it would take you. Playing the game over and over and over the last better part of 7 months, I can get through the campaign in 4 hours, just because I know all the tricks here, there, and everywhere, and exactly where to go, exactly what to do, and the best way to do it, um, and the little exploits that weren't quite 100% patched up by the time we have the main game done. That being said, you're looking at about, for the first playthrough, it took me, I would say, about 60 hours of just playing through the game and not worrying about any side missions or side quests or anything to finish it. 60 hours.
Now, out of curiosity, I know that there's an Edmonton office and a Montreal office. Have you guys ever had like just competitive tournaments against each other in the games? You know, like you just send each other a comment like, "I challenge you to, Mass Effect multiplayer or something, or StarCraft."
Not necessarily Mass Effect. I know we had a bit of a League of Legends tournament throughout most of EA. I don't play League of Legends, so I can't tell you the specifics, but I know it was pretty big, pretty large.
Nice. Any other questions anyone has? I'm way too tired to think of
We
anything
also
there.
had someone ask, what is your favorite race?
So
That's not the game we're talking about. Let's clarify that.
Like, I love the Germans!
Just because Solarians, definitely Solarians.
Okay. Now, are there any Easter eggs that we should be looking out for in Mass Effect 3 that you kind of want to share?
There are quite a few, but no, I'm not going to share them.
You ruin everything.
Yes, I ruined everything. Let me just, you know what? I'll tell you all the endings right now. You don't even need to buy the game. I'll just tell you what happens.
Works to me, seems to be like $60. No, so, yeah, alright. I have nothing right
We
now.
have another question.
Another question.
from one of the viewers. We have James asking, were you involved with the play testing for the multiplayer or just the single player?
One thing that we had, yes, flat answer, yes. Our Montreal studio was in charge of a lot of the multiplayer, and actually that's where all of our multiplayer developers were. And Edmonton was part of the single player side. That being said, as Josh mentioned yesterday, we would have test cases to overload servers, and even if you had some free time, there's always a need for fresh eyes to look at something. You know, if you haven't played a section of the game for a month, if looking at it now, it's going to be totally different. The art's going to be totally different. You know, some of the functionality is going to be totally different. There might be new geometry. So there's always some good stuff to test and to kind of say, hey, this looks out of place or that looks out of place.
When you were play testing, did you see any like really cool features that the designers wanted to add but just couldn't quite make the cut before final build had to be pushed out?
No. The way our development process works, I feel that everything we wanted to get in regards to large systems and things that users and fans will definitely pick up on, got into the game. There are some minor bugs and some minor things that we just didn't have time to fix, and a couple of those snuck through, but nothing that's game breaking, nothing that a normal person will see without specifically looking for an issue. It's the guys that go out there and want to find a bug just to post it on our forums or to yell at us over some sub-forum. They'll see a couple little things, but for the most part, the game is very, very polished. The game looks exceptional, and I know you guys will love it.
Okay, awesome.
Ralph Savo, I apologize if I pronounced that wrong. You mentioned that you got back home from work at 4 a.m. How long is a work day
I wasn't at work till 4 a.m. last night. I went out with a couple of friends. Went out to the bar. However, regular workday, it's a 9 to 6 job. That being said, some days I might arrive at 8 or 8:30 depending on the workload, and I might not leave until 7 or 8. During crunch, however, uh, if there is work, you can work as much as you want. It's not expected, but everyone here really wants to make the game great. So you would have people pulling 12-hour days for 1 or 2 months, including weekends, just to make sure that this final product is awesome. And I can tell you, probably about 90% of the guys I worked with did that because they are passionate about the game and they are passionate about what they're doing.
You mentioned the guys. Some of you are in Montreal, some of you are in Edmonton. How large is the amount of people that goes into, I guess, developing and testing and creating a game? Is it 1 or 2 dozen people, or is it on the scale of like 100, 120?
Hundreds and hundreds, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. We've got people all around the world. Like you mentioned, we've got our Montreal guys that are mostly working on multiplayer. A lot of the single player stuff is done here at Edmonton. We've got some additional testers at EA Burnaby, which is EAC. A lot of the playthrough guys were there. We've got guys all around the world in an organization we call Globant, some in Argentina. We've got our localization guys in Madrid. We've got, I think we have one programmer actually in Sweden. We've got guys everywhere. So to answer your question, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. I couldn't put a number on it, but loads.
Nice. Yeah, that's quite a large number for to have everyone work together. Like, have you ever just? I don't know. I mean, that's just amazing that you can get that many people to kind of push something out like this that's so cohesive. Yeah, I think I'm gonna wrap this up since otherwise I'm just gonna sit here.
We have two more questions.
2 more questions. Okay.
We have 2 more questions.
Awesome.
So we have one question asking, was there any moment in the game where you just put down the controller and said, wow, I can't believe that happened?
There was 3 moments, and being more of an action player, these 3 story moments blew me out of the water. I'll let you guys figure those out for yourself.
And what's the other question?
And the other question is, from your experience on the multiplayer side, was there anything that you were surprised or excited about, or were you skeptical about the multiplayer?
Initially, just like you guys, and I'll say 99% of our fans, I was quite skeptical going into it. When I initially played multiplayer, I thought to myself, okay, this is just kind of a bit of a mini game. This is something people will spend a little bit of time on, but not too terribly much. But over the past month or so, I've been playing multiplayer. It is so refined, and co-op aspect is actually, it's there. It's not, you can't just, play by yourself, get through it all, get maximum score, get all the upgrades, and be done with it. You need to play with a team because some of the enemies are just, they're actually really smart in the way we have a lot of our triggers laid out. It's challenging. It's not easy, especially the gold difficulty. I'm sure some of you guys are aware of. You'll just get killed if you Vanguard charge and Nova, like 90% of the people do, and I just go because they die. It's also really smooth too. I'm very, very happy with our combat system, the way our cover system works, and the way that we have laid out balance.
Nice. I guess that's it then. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm sorry I'm not more awake enough to have better questions, but half hour does that to me.
No, that's fine. I'm going back to sleep here.
Yeah, alright, well, thank you again for calling in. We absolutely look forward to Mass Effect 3. I'm going to try to get that, at least a little bit of that streamed before I end this marathon, because I think it'd be remiss if we didn't actually play